It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
Off and running. Welcome in another edition of Musso at the box. Fired up to have you here. We're presented by Got Lit Light Installers, gotlitlights.com. The Tigers, they get set to host Louisiana Tech Tuesday night at the box in midweek action. And has LSU found their offensive X factor? I really want to dive into that and a couple more notes as well. One with the cleanup spot, and this team already made a little bit of history here in 2025. So we have a jam-packed show here for you today on Musso at the Box. Be sure to smash that like button if you have not already. Get subscribed on the YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast app. Just search Musso at the Box. Hit the subscribe button. You can take the show with you wherever you go in video and audio form. That's always appreciated. And of course, follow me on social media. Those handles scroll on the screen below. If you're listening, Twitter X at Musso Matthew. You can find me on Facebook at Matt Musso. I'm on Instagram as well. All right, let's not delay any further. Let's dive right into it. And we're going to start with LSU's offensive X factor and have they found it/him. And I think that they have. And I think they have found it in Luis Hernandez. I'm really excited about this conversation. I'm really encouraged by what we've seen from Luis Hernandez. So we all remember our conversations when he committed to LSU out of the transfer portal from Indiana State. You saw the numbers. I think he hit like 360. No, he had 23 bombs. And you get really excited. But it kind of came with some caveats, right? Luis Hernandez, a season ago at Indiana State, was primarily their designated hitter. They had one of the best defensive catchers in the country. He played every day. So Hernandez, they had to have his bat in the lineup because you see how talented he is. But you knew him coming to LSU, there was going to be an increase in his duties at catcher. And boy, have there. He has become LSU's everyday catcher in SEC play. He has started 9 games and played in 9 games. Every single one of them to this point. He also was normally catching 2 games on the weekend in the pre-conference with Cade Arambidi filling in that middle game. So you knew that increased workload would probably taper the offense off a bit. Also, you're stepping up a level in competition massively, right? Going from Indiana State to the SEC. And it was a little bit of an adjustment and slow start for Luis Hernandez. I went back and I looked through my notes from all the preseason scrimmages that I was able to attend. And again, I'm not out there for all of them. But from the ones I was there, I did not see Luis Hernandez record a hit. He was 0 on the days I was out there. But, and again, you go back to the scrimmage recaps we did. We talked about this. He put together some nice at-bats. And while none of them fell in, there were bases-loaded walks that he'd drive in runs. There were sac flies, and he would drive in runs. There's a great understanding of the strike zone, of the situation of the game that he's in. So while the slow start offensively carried over to the regular season, so did that understanding and coming through when your number was called. And remember, as we kind of alluded to earlier, he wasn't your everyday catcher in the pre-conference. They got Cade Arambidi in there every time on the weekend, at least once. So he's kind of in and out of the lineup, looking to establish a rhythm, things of that nature. And establish a rhythm he has. When you look at Luis Hernandez in SEC play, in those 9 games, his 9 starts, he's hitting 286. That is really good. Is it going to translate? That part did. 286 in the SEC, solid. He's hitting 280 overall, 286 in the league. He is leading your team in home runs with 4 in conference play. He has 5 overall in the year. 4 of his 5 have come against SEC pitching. And not only have they come against SEC pitching, They have been homers that you do not win the baseball game without. His first homer in conference play was against Missouri in the Friday game. LSU was down 2-0. He hits a 2-run homer to center in the bottom half of the inning and immediately responds for LSU, but ties the game up. His second home run, do you remember what that one was? That was on Friday night against Texas, facing Jared Spencer. It gave LSU the lead. Texas had just taken the lead 1-0. Hernandez in the bottom half of that inning, 2-run homer in a 2-strike count to give LSU the lead. Friday against Mississippi State, again off of an ace, Pico Khan. Bottom of the fifth, solo homer, curves inside the foul pole. That's ultimately the game-winning hit for LSU. And then he added his fourth homer Sunday, or not Sunday. Well, actually, it might have been Sunday at that point, given the fact the game finished at 1 a.m. But game 3, late, it led off the 8th inning. The game was out of reach. That's awesome. But those other 3 are huge in LSU's record being 7-2 right now in the league. He leads this team in slugging percentage in conference play. But the thing I'm most encouraged by, and why I look at this and go, yeah, it's translated and this is sustainable, and he is your X factor. As if the home runs weren't enough to show that he's the X factor, him coming up big in those moments. It's the strikeouts. Luis Hernandez on the season has struck out 13 times in 75 at-bats. That's 17%. You would expect that to tick up in conference play. Like, that's supposed to happen. When you go from the pre-conference into the SEC, your numbers are supposed to dip. Take Jared Jones. Y'all, Jared Jones is having a phenomenal year for LSU. Phenomenal year. He still has more walks than strikeouts on the season. But in conference play, Jared Jones is striking out in a quarter of his at-bats, 25% of the time. And that is supposed to happen. Luis Hernandez has struck out 6 times in 35 at-bats in conference play, 17%. It's held steady. Overall and in conference, it is held steady right there. Again, further illustrating his understanding of the strike zone, what is asked of him in situations, all of that. And he's doing it at the bottom of your order, in the bottom third of your order. He is the poster child for the length of this lineup. Has it translated? Hell yeah, it's translated. You don't win those games without those 3 big swings that he had, 2 of them off of actually all of them off of an ace, because they were all on Friday, and they were all key to your wins. And on top of that, he's been solid for you behind the plate. He hasn't been flawless. He hasn't been perfect. I wouldn't even say that he's been great. He has been solid defensively for you, and that has been good enough. For the shortcomings that he has had defensively, he has more than made up for it offensively. Look no further than game 2 against Mississippi State. How'd the run score for State? Passed ball on Luis Hernandez. Who got the game-winning hit? Luis Hernandez. Provides great length in your lineup. Is doing it with power. Is doing it with average. All when it's supposed to get the toughest for him. And again, that was the only question. How would it translate? It's translated great, because that's a guy with a veteran who's got well over 600 at-bats in college. And right now, he is an X factor for LSU in that lineup. Because, man, you talk about length. How about getting down to the 7 hole, having a guy who can win a game for you with a homer? Or just drive in runs. He's second on the team, just tied for second on the team in RBI in SEC play. He's been awesome. Like, there's really no more you can say. He's been awesome. And I love the strikeout stat. That is the one that really pops and stands out to me. So Luis Hernandez, I believe, is LSU's X factor right now offensively. And that's saying a lot because, man, that's a hell of a lineup. And he is a giant part of it being a hell of a lineup. Can't wait to watch him the rest of the way. I really can. I expect him to just keep getting better. Get 363 over the weekend against State with 2 homers. I expect him to just keep getting better and better, and I think you will start to see some consistency in the hitting. That sounds odd, but like where he gets knocks in all 3 games is basically what I mean. But he's past the transition as far as I'm concerned, especially increasing his workload and catching and still being able to impact the game as much as he had offensively at a much higher level of baseball than where he came from. Big check mark there. Fired up to watch him the rest of the way. Gotlit Light Installers, gotlitlights.com. Go there and get your quote. It's not just the Christmas lights anymore. They still do the Christmas lights, and they're still awesome at that. But they've expanded the business, and they're awesome at everything else now, too. Permanent outdoor landscape lighting, backyard, front yard, pool area, flower bed, outdoor kitchen, does not matter. Permanent outdoor landscape lighting from Gotlit. Temporary outdoor lighting also available for your private events, your weddings, your birthdays, your anniversary parties, graduations right around the corner. I'm going to keep hammering that home. You have a graduate in your family, you're throwing them a party to celebrate the accomplishment. You need some lights. Gotlit Lights, Gotlit Light Installers, gotlitlights.com. Decorative wreaths, anything you could really imagine to help illuminate your landscape. Gotlit Lights. They have you covered. All custom design, all custom cut to fit, never a loose light. It's Gotlit Light Installers, gotlitlights.com. Tell them you heard it right here, Musso at the box. One thing I forgot to get to in our weekend recap was the cleanup spot. We talked a lot about the cleanup spot leading into the weekend because Josh Pearson's numbers have dipped a little in SEC play, and that's who you had in the 4-hole. And don't get me wrong, Pearson's still having a really good year. He's hitting over 300, and this is really the time of the year where you expect him to kind of hit his stride. But when you looked at the numbers in SEC play, they weren't becoming of a cleanup hitter. And I had wondered, would LSU start to experiment in that spot? And the guys I threw out for you were Stephen Milam and Jake Brown. Well, in game number 3 against State, you saw Stephen Milam in the cleanup spot. And he produced. 1 for 4, double, drove in 2 runs. Great. Stephen Milam is your leading RBI producer, in conference games in the SEC. He is with 10. That's a spot you've seen him in at times throughout his LSU career, early on as a freshman. It didn't make a lot of sense. I get it. The stature ain't there. That's not what you think about when you think leadoff hitter. But the production is. It's not leadoff hitter, cleanup hitter, It is what you think when you think leadoff hitter. But the production is there to warrant some reps in the cleanup hole. 350. As well as the power is there. And the RBIs are following. The RBI, are following. I like that as an option. But there's a caveat there too. A very large 6'6" right-handed hitting caveat. And that is Ethan Frey. And Ethan Frey, what we have seen the last 2 weeks or so is his role starts to develop and expand. And what I mean by that is he is facing more right-handed pitching. And that could lead to a massive development for this baseball team. It was against Missouri. You saw them leave Ethan Frey in to face a righty. You saw it again midweek. And then on Saturday, game 3 against State, you saw him get a start against a right-handed pitcher. And so far, it's been pretty good. Ethan Frey has been producing against the righties like he does against the lefties. You can tell there's been some development there. You could tell that is something that they were working on with him, and it's paying dividends. And I'm here to tell you, if they continue to trot him out there against righties and he continues to hit very well, Ethan Frey is going to be your cleanup hitter, and he should be. That takes this offense to a whole nother level, where you have a big, hulking power bat that's hitting for average. By the way, Ethan Frey is hitting close to 380 on the season now, and the sample size just continues to grow. Ethan Frey is hitting 377. 5 homers, 19 RBI. The 19 RBI are in 53 at-bats. It's really good. When you've seen him in the lineup, you've seen him in that cleanup spot, and he has produced. And the other thing that can add is further protection for Jared Jones, because now Ethan Frey is sitting there protecting Danny Dickinson. And it gets you another power bat in the lineup as well. I'm not telling you he would DH every day. I'm not telling you he would play right field every day. What I'm telling you is if he continues to come along as right-handed hitters, he needs to be in the lineup every day and be your cleanup guy. Because that changes the math a little bit going through LSU's lineup, which is already elite. Already elite. You get Frey in there every day. Okay, well, you got a righty on the mound. You want to DH Pearson or Brown? Go ahead. Or you can keep Frey in the DH spot. But if there's a day that you don't want him in that DH spot and he's hitting well, he's effective and consistent against right-handed pitching, you play him in right field. But that guy potentially as your cleanup hitter full time changes things for LSU. That's a bat that, man, if it really does develop, look out. Because it's power and average. And it's a huge presence in your lineup as well. I'm fired up for Ethan Frey, that he's healthy and having the season that he is so far. I think a lot of people wondered, would it tick down for him in conference play? It is not. It has not. And in fact, he's taking more on facing the right-handers. Keep an eye on that going forward. How often they're letting Ethan Frey face right-handed pitching. It's been more frequent as of late, and he's responded successfully. I would love him in the lineup every day as your cleanup hitter. Would love that. Might have some answers coming down the pipe at that position. All right, a couple more things that we need to get to. Obviously, LSU hosts Louisiana Tech on Tuesday, so we'll get to that here momentarily. Do want to give them some shout-outs, though. LSU is off to the best start in program history in 12 years through 29 games. They're set at 26-3. That is the best start since 2013 through 29 games when that team was 27-2. LSU is 7-2 in the SEC. That is the best start in programs in the program since 2013 when they were 8-1. Y'all, that 2013 team, for my money, is the best LSU team to not win the national championship. Even better than 2017, the team that finished runner-up. You look at the major leaguers that were on that 2013 team. The freshman star power, not just with Alex Bregman, but with Andrew Stevenson, with Mark Laird, all that team was awesome. Aaron Nola was your ace. Your top two in that rotation played Major League Baseball. They were awesome. They went 23-7 in Southeastern Conference play, 57-9 before they arrived in Omaha. The black eye on that team is they went 2-Q. But they matched the program record for wins. That's the team you're pacing with right now. And you're doing it with obvious issues, with flaws, with black eyes. You can get those resolved, and you've taken a big step here, especially in the starting rotation, of doing that. You have a chance to be really, really special. So that's why I want to highlight that. That team was no joke. When they got to Omaha at 57, I would have bet everything I owned that team was going to win a national championship. I thought they were the best team in college baseball. you're pacing with them, which means you're ahead of pace of the 2023 team, which is revered around here and should be, because I think it's the best LSU team in history. Just some food for thought. All right. LSU and La Tech. Let's talk about it. Lane Burroughs brings the Bulldogs in for another meeting with LSU. They sit at 17-11 so far this season. They are 4-2 in Coosa. They opened by winning 2 out of 3 against Sam Houston, a team that LSU beat earlier this year. And then, of course, they went on the road. They were on the road against Sam Houston. They came back home this week in Ruston, took 2 of 3 games from Kennesaw State. So they're playing well coming in. They can hit the ball a little bit. They're paced by Garrison Barkley, 313 on the year, 10 doubles, 4 homers and 16 RBI. Michael Ballard is their leader in RBI and home runs on the season. Of course, there are a couple of different former LSU players. You'll see some familiar faces. Brody Drost, Zeb Riddell, and Will Safford still over there at Louisiana Tech. So familiar faces there. Pitching has been an adventure for Louisiana Tech, but it's going to be an adventure for just about every midweek team that comes in to face LSU and the potent offense that they have. But Burroughs has a nice team up in Ruston once again. For LSU on the mound, it should be William Schmidt. At least that's what I'm expecting. He did not pitch over the weekend. The last time he pitched was on a Tuesday night, getting back in that starting role. See if you can't get some confidence. I'd let him go a little bit as well. Give him multiple innings, get the workload under his belt again. And what you're going to be looking for is strikes, getting ahead of hitters and finishing the hitters off. What's going to be a big key is landing the secondary stuff. Also see if that fastball can find a little bit more movement that you saw on it maybe a little earlier in the year. But he's got to land the curveball, and he's got to be able to have some bit of a feel for that change to get guys off of his heater. So that's what you're looking for from William Schmidt. Of course, you want to see the free passes limited, all of that. After that, I'm curious to see where Jay Johnson goes. I'd love to get Connor Benge back out on the mound. He needs mound work. DJ Primo, I'd love to get him back out there as well. Same with Cooper Williams. I really like the idea of Jaden Newt on the weekend. We will see if they elect to use him. If you want to get him back on the mound a little bit Tuesday night, I'm A-okay with that. But I think his role right now needs to be weekend. I was very impressed with him with what he put forth in that game against Mississippi State. Came in with an inherited runner, did not allow him to score, and then gets him 3 up and 3 down there in the ninth inning. So that was a really nice season debut on the weekend for Newt. I'd like him to stay there, but if you want to get him some mound time Tuesday, I'm A-okay with that. But first and foremost, all eyes are going to be on William Schmidt, because as we talked about, if Newt hits like we think he has as a weekend piece, and you can keep bringing Connor Ware along and have an emergence of a sorely needed left-handed guy out of the pen, William Schmidt's the other one that everyone's going to look to. And if he figures it out and it starts to click down the stretch, you've got your 8. You've got your 8 pitchers between Evans, Cowan, Newt, Ware, Schmidt, and your 3 starters that you're going to feel really good and you're going to be really, really tough to deal with if that is the case. And the thing I love about Newt potentially on a weekend as well is he can extend. Right? I mean, you've seen him in his starts. Even in the pre-conference, he was extending when he'd go out. Not the pre-conference, excuse me. Even in the preseason, he was extending when he'd pitched, only 3 innings at a time. You like that when you're looking at this LSU bullpen. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But William Schmidt, all focus is going to be on William Schmidt for me Tuesday night, because he will be out there on the mound, and my guess is in the starting role. Hopefully he's got his stuff and can start building confidence. I've told you that's what I think it's going to take. It's going to take success to build confidence for him, because he looks like a pitcher that's out there right now not trusting his stuff, even though his stuff is some of the best that the majority of these hitters are going to see. We'll keep an eye there. And then, of course, the cleanup spot, like we talked about earlier. Let's keep an eye there. I imagine Cade Arrambide will get another start behind the plate, give Luis Hernandez a night off. Let's see if Arrambide can continue the hot hitting that he showcased here early in the midweek slate here the last month or so. So those are things that I'm kind of watching for as well. And Maybe you get Michael Braswell another start in there too, or a lot of that'll depend on a lot of that will depend on what hand the Louisiana Tech pitcher throws with. I'm expecting a Tiger win here, although I wouldn't hate if LSU got challenged a little bit more in the midweek. But ultimately, your Tigers need to win, and I think they will against Louisiana Tech. It's a good team. One that's certainly capable of challenging LSU, but they've been pretty darn dominant here in the midweek slate. All right, that's going to wrap it up, guys. Y'all smash the like, get subscribed if you have not already. Follow me on social media. All of it is greatly appreciated. It's Musso at the Box, presented by Got Lit Light Installers. We'll see you next time for more.